Good evening, Toronto and Blue Jay fans across Canada joining us live on Sportsnet. Welcome to Rogers Centre, home of your Toronto Blue Jays for Honda opening night. Your Blue Jays enjoyed a busy offseason. Please direct your attention to the video board as we celebrate being recognized by Major League Baseball with the 2012 Commissioner's Award for Philanthropic Excellence.
The Blue Jays' commitment to amateur baseball in Canada has been a driving force for this organization in recent years. The club has set out to improve opportunities in physical activity through baseball and grow the game across our nation. Through several initiatives, the Toronto Blue Jays Baseball Academy and Jays Care Foundation are leading the charge to present these opportunities to a new generation of baseball lovers. Jays Care Rookie League brings baseball to kids in need in 44 community housing neighborhoods in Toronto and 10 provinces across Canada. The Field of Dreams program provided over $900,000 in funding for baseball fields and youth spaces in 2012. The Honda Super Camp offered 3-day baseball camps in 16 cities across Canada last summer. And the Honda Instructional Clinics provided 40 sessions for amateur coaches countrywide.
Kids out in the fields are important. Kids playing are important. They not only get the exercise, but they learn what teamwork's all about.
It's an opportunity to give back.
I'll tell you what, guys, it goes from top to bottom in this organization. We're a family.
The baseball world has taken notice to what is happening across our nation. The Toronto Blue Jays are honored to receive the 2012 Commissioner's Award for Philanthropic Excellence, presented annually since 2010 to recognize an extraordinary charitable and philanthropic effort of an MLB club.
Open up your eyes, open up your eyes, and let your heart say fire.
Baseball in this country has never been stronger. And with the continued effort by the Blue Jays and our partners, we expect the game to continue to reach new highs.
Not every one of these kids are going to make the major leagues, but I think at the very end of the day, they're going to have fun, and they're going to learn that it's getting that ball from third base to first base, whether you're a major leaguer or a little leaguer, is a good challenge.
Joining us this evening to present the Commissioner's Award is Major League Baseball Executive Vice President of Business, Tim Brosnan. Accepting the award on behalf of Jays Care Foundation is Brandon Morrow. And on behalf of the Blue Jays Baseball Academy, a member of the Blue Jays alumni and a driving force in our academy, Dwayne Ward. Both Dwayne and Brandon, along with many other players and alumni, give back each and every day to our community. The Blue Jays thank all those involved and are committed to continuing to grow this sport right across the country. This offseason, the organization also celebrated excellence in broadcasting. In December of last year, it was announced that the late Tom Cheek would take his long-deserved place in the halls of Cooperstown.
Ball, one strike. Two Blue Jays down. Oh, gets into one. This one's well hit. Forget about it. It's a home run. First baseman Doug Alt has electrified this crowd at Exhibition Stadium. He works to Hassey. There's a swing and a fly ball left field. Bell is there. He's got it. The Blue Jays have done it. They have won the East. They have won the East. George Bell catching the ball and dropping to his knees.
A swing and a drive. Center field. This ball is tagged. It is up. It is gone off Windows Restaurant. Number 300 for Carlos Delgado.
They are on their feet. The 1-2 pitch. Swung on and missed. And the Blue Jays win it. The Blue Jays are on their way to the 1989 American League Championship Series.
6-4 Oakland.
2-2 pitch. A swing, and there's a drive. That's a deep right field. Way back, way back. It's gone. A 2-run home run for Roberto Alomar, and this game is tied up in Oakland. Pitch on the way, and there's a bunted ball. First base side, Timlin to Carter, and the Blue Jays win it. The Blue Jays win it. The Blue Jays are World Series champion. Catch a swing and a fly ball right field. Junior Felix is there. He's done it. He's done it. Dave Steve has his no-hitter. Finally, Dave Steve has pitched the first no-hitter in Blue Jays history. Here's a pitch on the way. A swing and a belt. Left field. Way back. Blue Jays win it. The Blue Jays are World Series champions. Touch them all, Joe. You'll never hit a bigger home run in your life.
As the winter went on, the Blue Jays family welcomed several new members. And tonight, we are pleased to acknowledge 2 of our newest Blue Jays for their incredible achievements last season. R.A. Dickey reached the 200-win plateau for the first time in his career. He compiled a 2.73 ERA and led the National League in complete games and shutouts. He was recognized midseason with his first All-Star appearance, and he became the first knuckleball pitcher to win the Cy Young Award. Earlier this spring, R.A. was presented with his 2012 National League Cy Young Award by Richard Griffin, president of the Toronto chapter of the Baseball Writers Association of America. Blue Jays fans congratulate you, R.A. The Rawlings Gold Glove is the highest symbol of defensive excellence. In pitching over 200 innings for the 12th straight year, Mark Burley had a perfect fielding percentage last season. And for the 4th straight season, he was named among the finest in the field in Major League Baseball. He is the only active pitcher with multiple gold gloves to his name. Here to present Mark with his Rawlings National League Gold Glove is Randy Beatty, General Manager, Rawlings, Canada. Congratulations, Mark. Ladies and gentlemen, here are the teams for tonight's game. First, please welcome the visiting Cleveland Indians, non-starters, coaches, and support staff. And now the starting lineup for the Cleveland Indians, managed by Terry Francona. Batting first, center fielder number 24, Michael Bourne. Batting second, shortstop number 13, Asdrubal Cabrera. Batting third, second baseman number 22, Jason Kipnis. Batting fourth at first base, number 33, Nick Swisher. Batting fifth, left fielder number 23, Michael Brantley. Batting sixth and catching number 41, Carlos Santana. Batting seventh, the designated hitter, number 12, Mark Reynolds. Batting eighth at third base, number 8, Lonnie Chisenhall. Batting ninth in right field, number 11, Drew Stubbs. Pitching for the Indians tonight, right-hander, number 63, Justin Masterson.
massive deal, one of the most significant in the history of the Blue Jays.
We're talking about one of the biggest trades in baseball history.
Reyes, Burley, Josh Johnson to the
fans in Toronto and in Canada have been waiting for the Jays to make a big win-now type of move, and it is a monster.
And now, Melky Cabrera to play left.
Look out, AL East, a Bluebird is back.
Is there another move coming?
It is official. R.A. Dickey is a Toronto Blue Jay.
An embarrassment of riches right now in that rotation.
The Blue Jays made it clear we are going for it in 2013.
It's a new day, it's a new life for me, and I'm feeling good.
Our goals are big. I can't wait. I can't wait.
I've never been more excited.
Right now in this moment, I'm so excited.
Be loud, be ready.
Hopefully we'll bring that winning tradition back to Toronto.
We've talked enough. I think it's just time to do it.
I'm feeling good.
And now your 2013 Toronto Blue Jays coaches and clubhouse staff. Visiting clubhouse manager Len Fralick. Equipment manager Jeff Ross. Clubhouse manager Kevin Malloy. Strength and conditioning coordinator Brian King. Assistant trainer Mike Frostad. Trainer George Poulos. Bullpen catcher Alex Andriopoulos. Batting practice pitcher Jesus Figueroa. Third base coach Luis Rivera. Bench coach DeMarlo Hale. First base coach Dwayne Murphy. Hitting coach Chad Mottola. In the bullpen, pitching coach Pete Walker. Also in the bullpen coach Pat Hentgen. Outfielder number 11, Rajay Davis. Infielder number 16, Mark DeRosa. Pitcher number 21, Sergio Santos. Catcher number 22, Henry Blanco. Pitcher number 23, Brandon Morrow. Pitcher number 27, Brett Cecil. Pitcher number 32, Esmil Rogers. Pitcher number 33, Jeremy Jeffress. Pitcher number 38, Darren Oliver. Pitcher number 44, Casey Jensen. Pitcher number 48, Jay Hatton. Pitcher number 50, Steve Delabar. Pitcher number 55, Josh Johnson. Pitcher number 56, Mark Burley. Pitcher number 62, Aaron Loop. And now, starting lineup for the 2013 Toronto Blue Jays, managed by John Gibbons. Leading off, the shortstop, number 7, Jose. Cabrera. Batting third, playing right field, number 19, Jose Bautista. First base, number 10, Edwin Encarnacion. Batting fifth, the designated hitter, number 26, Adam Lynn. Batting sixth, in the bullpen, catcher number 9, J.P. City. Batting seventh, playing center field, number 28, Colby Rasmus. Batting eighth, at third base, number 3, Meiser is Turris. Batting ninth, playing second base, number 1, Emilio Bonifacio. Warming in the bullpen, tonight's starting pitcher for your Blue Jays, right-hander, number 43, Ladies and gentlemen, your 2013 Toronto Blue Jays. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, in honor of our opening night, we are proud to have presenting the colors, the Royal Canadian Mounted Police. Carrying our Canadian flag to the field are members of the University of Toronto varsity athletic teams. Fans, we ask that you please rise and join us, along with all of Major League Baseball, in observing a moment of silence for those who lost their lives or loved ones during the tragic events of December 14th, 2012 at Sandy Hook Elementary School in Newtown, Connecticut. Thank you. From LaSalle, Ontario, she stars as Dorothy in Andrew Lloyd Webber's production of The Wizard of Oz, which has been on stage since December at the Ed Mirvish Theater. Joining us tonight to perform the national anthems is Danielle Wade.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in
Canadian music icon. He is the vocalist, bassist, and keyboardist with the Toronto rock band Rush. He's a longtime Blue Jays season ticket holder and huge baseball fan. He and his bandmates will be the first Canadian band to be inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame at a ceremony in Los Angeles April 18th, followed by Rush's North American Clockwork Angels Tour. Join us in welcoming to the field to throw out the ceremonial first pitch, Geddy Lee. Geddy will throw to Brandon Morrow. Geddy, it's your pitch. Ladies and gentlemen, girls and boys, Geddy Lee.
Welcome back to Rogers Center. It is Honda opening night. It is a packed house here in Toronto. The Cleveland Indians are in town to open up the 2013 season. And Pat, we have just witnessed a terrific pregame ceremony, including R.A. Dickey receiving a Cy Young Award from last year and Mark Burley receiving his fourth consecutive Gold Glove Award.
How about the new players on this ball club? The ovation that they got from the Toronto fans. Jose Reyes got a huge ovation from everybody. Josh Johnson the same way. I think they're anticipating, like we are anticipating, good things happening.
This is like Christmas morning. We've been hearing about these great players for so long, and now we finally get to open up the presents. But the players are excited. How about Jose Reyes, Emilio Bonifacio, and Meiser Astúriz at 6:45, the first 3 Blue Jays on the field to get loose for the game.
I don't know if they didn't think that the game was going to start. Maybe they thought it started at 7:05 instead of 7:30. But you're right. They were out here stretching. They were high-fiving the fans. They were talking to the people up in the upper decks. They are getting into it and getting into it big. An emotional type of night with an emotional type of players. And finally, like you said, the day has come.
Yeah, it sure has. It's been a great spring. And that guy right there, Jose Reyes, certainly brings a lot of energy and a lot of joy to this ball club. And it's a different kind of energy that we have seen here in a long time. He truly plays this game like a kid. He's appreciative of every opportunity. He and Emilio Bonifacio will team up the middle to start this game tonight. And that's an infectious attitude. Dickey takes the mound for his first opening day start of his career, and you heard the music in the background. That is the Imperial March from the Star Wars movie series, and R.A. Dickey, as he says, he's a Star Wars nerd. Terry Francona in his first season at the helm of the Cleveland Indians, anxious to get back on the field after being away for a year. The starting lineup for the Cleveland Indians, and there are some new faces in the Indians lineup, including the leadoff hitter Michael Bourn. 257 stolen bases over the last 4 seasons. That's the most in the major leagues. And the Indians were starved for power. So what they do? They went out and signed the free agent Nick Swisher, who's hit 20 or more home runs for 8 straight seasons. And he's a switch hitter. It's going to be their everyday first baseman. R.A. Dickey is coming off a terrific season with the Mets. He won 20 games for the first time in his career. And with that, the Cy Young Award in the National League.
One of the most anticipated starts, I think, by a Blue Jay pitcher in a long, long time. We all know about the 7-player trade back in December with the Mets that brought R.A. Dickey here to Toronto to head the starting staff. And I think it pointed to this night right here. It's a legitimate number 1 guy who can match up with the other number 1s in the American League East.
May have been the final piece to the puzzle for Alex Anthopoulos. Behind Dickey on defense, a terrific outfield of Cabrera, Rasmussen, Jose Bautista. Bautista had 11 assists in 90 games. The infield is Sturis, Reyes, Bonifacio, and Encarnacion in the battery. R.A. Dickey throwing to J.P. Arancibia, and we are set for action.
And I can't wait to see that man play shortstop here at Rogers Center.
Michael Bourn takes the first pitch inside, and we are underway. Ball misses low, and Dickey works quickly. Something that really keeps everybody on the infield engaged. 274 a year ago with the Braves. On the ground. We talked about Dickey and how quickly he works. He's very athletic. He's a terrific fielder, and he can handle anything that comes back to the mound with ease.
Worked so hard in the spring on comebackers, and you'll see it this year. Very athletic, and what that does, that allows the middle infield to cheat a little bit to the pull side.
All-star Asdrubal Cabrera takes one just off the plate inside. You'll see on the ride to pitch tracker. And it'll be up there and give you an idea about the strike zone. 1-1.
That's the thing about R.A. Dickey. A little bit different than the knuckleball pitchers we have seen in the past. Throws it a little bit harder. Not a whole lot of floating of that knuckleball up towards home plate. He can control it and make it do different things.
He really came into his own with the Mets.
What he will do to left-handed batters, once he gets to 2 strikes, 94% of the time he'll put him away with that hard knuckleball.
Just missed upstairs.
You can see those last 2 efforts from Dickey against the left-hander, just a little bit more on that pitch. than the ones earlier in the count.
Another pitch upstairs. It's fouled back. Well, I love the fact that he works so quickly. That really keeps the pressure on the hitters. And Asdrubal Cabrera, a very good hitter, one of 3 switch hitters in the Indians lineup. Just missed downstairs. Time now for the keys to victory, brought to you by Quaker Steak, real durable oil.
You know, there's a couple of them here in this ball game. I think the first thing that the Blue Jays have to do, they have to stop the speed of Terry Francona's team. 132 stolen bases by the Tribe batters in the lineup tonight for Francona's team. And then they have to get the ball in the air against Justin Masterson. He had an AL low 236 ground ball to fly ball ratio. So when the batters hit, they got to get the ball in the air against him.
Comes back and gets ahead of Jason Kipnis. Kipnis really came into his own last year. Terrific season. He tied Carlos Santana with those 76 RBIs for the club lead.
Had an outstanding first half to his rookie season, Kipnis. And I think pitchers started figuring him out just a little bit more in the second half, tailed off a little bit. But you're right, power and speed for the second baseman for the Tribe.
That goes helicoptering into the seats about 3 rows. That fan says, yeah, we'll take you on, Indians. Come on.
Don't give it back. That's his gamer. Don't give it back. He's hiding it, isn't he?
It's good to see everybody is okay, and now they will give it back and give him his gamer back.
Getting a switch to a black bat this time. Watch this one. Right into the stands. He's fired up for opening night.
Here's the 1-2. Cabrera at first. Come on and missed. Dickey's got his first strikeout of the season.
You can see that again with 2 strikes. The left-handers is going to throw that knuckleball just a little bit harder. That time registering 79 miles per hour. But watch the break. It's there for Kipnis, and then it's gone.
There's been so much talk about J.P. Arancibia and how well he will do handling that knuckleball. He's been pretty good all spring long. 2 outs now. Nick Swisher. Just off the plate outside. We mentioned Swisher signed as a free agent. He's now 32 years old. Drafted originally by the Oakland Athletics way back in 2002. Ball's off the glove of Arancibia, and Cabrera will move up. Pass ball charged to Arancibia, and one thing you can't do as a catcher is let the pass ball numbers get in your head.
Yeah.
You've got to erase that immediately.
They're going to be there. Just try to keep the ball in front of you. It's the knuckleball once again, and this one handcuffs JP right at the end. That is the strikeout that went right off his glove. That glove right there, it's an oversized catcher's glove, a lot like a softball catcher's glove. And I was talking to him today, and he said, all I want to do is let the ball come to me. If you go out there and try and catch it, that's when it dances right at the last minute. You can see how big that glove is. Designed specifically for a knuckleball.
Fisher with a good cut that fouls it straight back. Numbers with the Yankees a year ago. Swisher, we mentioned his 8 consecutive seasons of 20 or more home runs. One of 3 players to be able to say that. Paul Konerko and David Ortiz. 20th pitch of the inning. 2-2 to Swisher. Upstairs.
When you see that high knuckleball like that, that's by design. When he gets to 2 strikes, he'll throw it up there. And he's got tremendous control with it. Tries to throw it about letter high for that batter to swing at it.
Full house at Rogers Center. Swisher pulls it down the right side, but that'll get into the seats. Swisher's a 5-time All-Star, and the Indians were 12th in the American League in home runs a year ago, so they bring in Nick Swisher's consistency with the long ball and added Mark Reynolds as well to boost the power. Another full count pitch on the ground. Encarnacion will go to the bag and take it himself. Dickey's out of the first. When we come back to Rogers Center, you'll see the newest Blue Jays. Jose Reyes will lead things off, followed by Melky Cabrera coming off a .346 season, and the home run hitter Jose Bautista. And you can bet John Gibbons is thrilled to be able to run this lineup out there on a regular basis. It's loaded top to bottom, and of course the table setters, Jose Reyes at the top of the order and Melky Cabrera. Jose Reyes, the 2011 batting champ, his last year with the New York Mets, and he beat out Ryan Braun to win that title. And how about that? A .346 average for Melky Cabrera with the San Francisco Giants. Blue Jays signed him to a 2-year contract as a free agent back in November. And you can bet they're going to score a ton of runs ahead of this potent lineup.
Yeah, a .390 on base percentage also for Melky. This is Justin Masterson and deja vu. 2 years in a row that the Blue Jays get the starter, Justin Masterson, on opening day. He was terrific last year versus Toronto. 8 innings, just 2 hits and a run. When he is on, he's keeping the ball down and he's keeping it in the ballpark. For his career 3-1 with a 3.00 home run average in 12 games against the Blue Jays. He was tough last year.
In that opening game last season in Cleveland, Masterson had a season-high 10 strikeouts. Switch hitter Jose Reyes shows bunt, takes ball 2. Reyes now 30 years old, and he has the count in his favor, 3-0, and he's always a base-stealing threat. Reyes led the National League 3 times in stolen bases, and he's going to get his first base here with a 4-pitch walk from Masterson.
That has always been the knock against Justin Masterson. Nothing wrong with his stuff. It's outstanding. Fastball, slider, he can sink it a little bit, mixes in a little bit of a changeup, but at times he walks too many batters.
Second switch hitter in the lineup is Melky Cabrera. Five straight wide ones from Masterson. Cabrera hit .346 last year. He was suspended for failing a drug test August 15th. At that time, he had 159 hits, more than anybody in baseball. He can flat out hit.
Yeah, he does it with a great swing. Very compact, very short. He can wait very long on the ball, and if you make a mistake, he can sting it. Got extra base pop in that bat also.
Well, that was a borderline pitch. Masterson got a favorable call. He's ahead 1-2.
When a guy like this is all over the place as a hitter, you have to anticipate the ball being in the strike zone.
Pulled foul.
What you can't do, you can't go up there, hey, he walked the first batter on 4 pitches. He might walk me. That's no way to. You go up there, anticipate him throwing a strike, and read it out. And you're swinging until your mind tells you it's off the plate.
Bautista on deck. Boy, this is what Cabrera does so well. He truly shortens up with 2 strikes. He really came into his own as a hitter in 2011 in Kansas City. Had 201 hits for the Royals. He's just one of those guys that learned how to hit later on in his career.
Started using the whole field just a little bit more to really track that ball.
You think nerves are a factor early on for Masterson?
Yes.
I mean, there's a lot of energy in this ballpark.
Yep, second straight season of an opening day start. Last year it was in Cleveland. They were all for him. There's 50,000 here against him.
Line to short. That'll be a double play. Reyes took a couple extra steps towards second, and Cabrera doubled him off. So Bautista, after a promising start to the inning, will bat with nobody on and 2 outs. That perspective right there is a new one for the fans here at Rogers Center. That is the former restaurant windows that has been changed to a wide open fan destination, and you can see there's quite a few fans on the rails of that new venue.
They were the first ones here this afternoon for the game. I predict that that's going to be a very popular place this summer.
Yeah, it's going to end up being a destination, and anybody that comes into the ballpark will be able to make their way down to that area. Bautista fouls another one off. It's behind 0-2. Bautista has a pair of home runs against Masterson. 27 homers a year ago and missed the second half of the season. Fair ball down the left side as Michael Brantley gets over quickly and hustles it back in. Bautista with a hit in his first at bat of the season.
That's where you hope that the home team fans would have reached over and maybe touched the ball and had a ground rule double. Bautista all over this sinking fastball. Hammers it right down the line past Chisenhall, the third baseman, right over the bag. But it's hit so hard and it's played so nicely by Brantley, holds him to a single.
Well, the Indians outfield, 3 center fielders, left, center, and right. Edwin Encarnacion gets hit by a pitch. Masterson still struggling to find the strike zone.
Sinking fastball. They want to pitch him in. The defense is playing Encarnacion to pull. You see Santana set up on the inside part of the plate. That one just got away from Masterson.
So Edwin Encarnacion's at first. Bautista moves to second. Masterson's in a jam with 2 outs, and one of the best opening day hitters in baseball, Adam Lynn, steps to the plate. 10 for 15 on opening day. Looks at one outside. That's the highest batting average on opening day among active players, with a minimum of 10 plate appearances. His season numbers from a year ago: 11 homers and 45 RBIs. What have you seen that you've liked about Lynn so far through the spring into this first game?
Seems to be a little bit more free at the plate, that he can pull the ball if he has to. The bat's a little bit quicker. He can get it out in front. And he's very effortless, I think, at the plate.
1-1. driven down the left side, but sliced into the seats.
It's a very interesting defensive alignment that the Indians are throwing up there against Adam Lynn. The infield is playing him to pull. I think they're going to, if he hits it on the ground, they're going to pull. But look at the outfield, playing him the other way, and that's right. Adam Lynn, especially against hard-throwing righties like Masterson, hits a lot of balls the other way in the air.
1 ball, 2 strikes, 2 outs. Big sweeping breaking ball, gets a piece of it to stay alive. 19 pitches for Masterson. Boy, you'd love to see Lynn get off to a great start.
Can you say a big at bat in the first inning of opening night?
Off the plate, 2-2. Both starters now up over 20 pitches in the first inning. Dickey threw 21 in the top half of the inning. Great sight, packed house at Rogers Center. Lind is 5 for 15 for his career against Justin Masterson. Fastball, and Lynn strikes out. Blue Jays threatening the first, but Masterson strikes out Lynn. Bautista singled. Edwin Encarnacion was hit by a pitch, and then Lynn strikes out to leave 2. Third time in franchise history the Blue Jays have opened up against the Cleveland Indians. They beat the Indians in 1987 at Exhibition Stadium, and then last year, of course, that historic 16-inning 7-4 win in Cleveland. In 1987, Jimmy Key started against Tom Candiotti, and Jimmy Key was the winner in that, and there was an Indian that had a pretty good day against the Blue Jays left-hander. My partner Pat Tabler hit a 2-run home run off Jimmy Key, and he went, what, 2 for 4 that opening
Yeah,
day.
and just missed another one off the top of the fence at right field against Jimmy. Where are you, Jimmy?
His left arm is aching as we speak. Michael Brantley takes the first pitch strike from R.A. Dickey. Let's see if Dickey can't bounce back after a 21-pitch first inning. Up the middle, base hit for Brantley.
Boy, he can hit. Michael Brantley. He just wore out the Blue Jays last year.
In a 3-game series in July, Brantley was 8 for 11 right here at Rogers Center, so he likes hitting in this place. But that was a pretty good knuckleball that got him over
good
there.
knuckleball, but a good approach by Michael Brantley. A very short swing, not a lot of movement. These are the kind of guys who can handle those knuckleball pitchers. People like this, Michael Brantley.
Short swing, quick to the ball. Don't have to commit early. Switch hitting catcher Carlos Santana. We mentioned Santana and Kipnis tied for the Indians team lead with 76 RBI. Santana hit .255. Santana's just 26 years old. It's just ball into center, but Rasmus is there, has it measured, and that's the first out of the inning.
Honda opening night on Sportsnet. Brought to you by the 2013 Honda CR-V, an IIHS top safety pick. Honda is the official vehicle of the Toronto Blue Jays.
Mark Reynolds, the DH. Of course, Blue Jay fans remember Reynolds as the first baseman for the Orioles a year ago and had a pretty good run with the Orioles. 23 home runs last year.
There was a need in Cleveland for some power.
Ball gets away from Aaron Sebia, goes back to the backstop, and Brantley moves up to second.
That's the only thing that you worry about. Double play situations there with a runner at first base, get the ball on the ground with Mark Reynolds, and you're going to get out of the inning. But that time, another pass ball wipes that out. Don't reach for it. That's what JP was telling me before the ball game. You can see he's not really reaching for it, but that ball's tumbling away from him.
Yeah, and the one thing I said earlier, that you have to really have a short memory. You just got to forget about the two pass balls and relax and try to corral the next one. 3-0 count to Reynolds. Dickey will occasionally throw a fastball, but not very often. He's up over 80% knuckleballs. That high knuckler that was fouled off the mask of Aaron Sebia.
You know, if he does throw a fastball, like let's say in a 3-0 count like he did to Reynolds, he'll keep it away from him. Maybe they're a little bit over anxious, anticipating it, just trying to keep that off the barrel of the bat. Throw that good one right here.
Well, it was a good one, but Reynolds laid off. Second walk of the ball game issued by Dickey.
One thing that I've noticed here in the first 2 innings of the game, how patient the Indians hitters are against that knuckleball.
He has been able to throw an awful lot of strikes. Last year, his walk to strikeout ratio was very good. This is upstairs. They're doing a good job of laying off those borderline pitches.
Yeah, very, very patient. They have known to do that, the Indians. Take the ball the other way, work the count, get in deep.
Another ball off the glove of Aaron Sebia, back to the backstop, and runners move up.
You know, you talk about Dickey last year. He only walked 54 batters last season. That was in 33 starts and 233 innings. Very patient with it. That time just another miss by Aaron Sebia, another pass ball.
Two balls and a strike to the Indians' third baseman, Lonnie Chisenhall. 3 pass balls have been charged to JP Aaron Sebia. On the ground. That'll get to run home. Chisenhall is out at first on the play. Michael Brantley comes in to score, and the Indians have taken a 1-0 lead. Leadoff single by Michael Brantley, and Chisenhall cashes it in. Chisenhall had 16 RBIs last year in 43 games for Cleveland. Reynolds at second. Now 2 down.
Take advantage of what the defense is going to give you. If they didn't have that pass ball, that's a double play and they're out of the inning, but the Indians will cash it in the run.
Base hit just over the glove of his Torres. Melky Cabrera comes up and his throw is offline. Reynolds is in to score on the throw. Drew Stubbs goes to second, and the Indians have taken a 2-0 lead.
The team that really struggled last year hitting with runners in scoring position, the Indians, and they're going to come up with a big hit right off of the glove of Meiser Asturas. Knuckleball not hit very hard by Stubbs off the glove. Melky Cabrera came up firing, but he's off target.
Back to the top of the order. Michael Bourne grounded out his first time up. And gets away from Aaron Seba, but not far enough for Stubbs to advance. Indians a year ago were near the bottom in runs per game. They scored 4.1 runs per ball game, and that was 13th in the American League. There's a strike. Right back to Dickey. That'll end the inning. But the Indians take a 2-0 lead on a couple of hits. Drew Stubbs, newly acquired from Cincinnati, delivers on his first at bat, an RBI single to left. 2-0 Cleveland. At Rogers Center, it's Honda opening night, and it proves to be a very exciting week. It's always exciting on opening night, Pat, and everybody feels a lot of anticipation about what's ahead for the Toronto Blue Jays.
Hopefully good things. This team is a good team. It's put together with great thoughts in mind about manufacturing runs, being able to hit good pitching. I think we'll see that. So far in this game, Blue Jays haven't been able to take care of their base runners and bring them around, and the Indians have been able to cash them in.
JP Arancibia, he is in the hole 0-2. JP a year ago, 18 home runs, 56 RBIs, but his season was cut short by a broken hand. Took a foul ball off the bat of Brandon Inge and suffered a broken hand.
And he was just starting to swing the bat. The power started coming around.
Goes after that sinking fastball and strikes out. 1 down. Big NHL trade deadline tomorrow. Hockey Central trade deadline presented by Coors Light. Sportsnet will have a full day coverage tomorrow, tracking every team on TV, radio, online, and mobile. Stay in the know on every trade, anywhere, anytime, right here on Sportsnet. Colby Rasmus. Well, Masterson's got that ball really diving, doesn't he?
He looks like a different pitcher this inning. After he got out of the trouble in the first inning, his team scores him 2 in the top of the inning. He comes right back firing strikes. This is how he looked on opening day last year.
Well, Masterson is one of the toughest guys in baseball to elevate the ball against. He throws an awful lot of sinking fastballs.
Yeah, that's why we were talking about it in the keys to the game, to get the ball in the air, I think, tonight against Masterson. He had the best ground ball to fly ball ratio in the American League last year.
Ball's behind Rasmus, 3-1. Well, one of the real aspects of battling against Masterson is just taking advantage of the few mistakes he makes. And there's a 1-out walk.
Blue Jays on Sportsnet. Brought to you by Home Hardware and Building Center locations. Homeowners helping homeowners with expert advice.
Third baseman Meiser Restoris takes one downstairs. Restoris starting at third base. Brett Laurie on the disabled list, not expected to be out too long. Last year with the Angels, Restoris hit .256. Takes another ball, 2-0. Well, one thing you know you're going to get with Restoris, both in the field and at the plate, is a good effort. He's 32 years old now, and he's a guy that understands what his skill level is. And I think he's a real good addition to this ball club. That's 17 steals.
Yeah. He's a pro. Yeah, he doesn't try and do too much. Not a lot of power there. They pitch the ball away, just tries to poke it the other way. Throws a little something inside. He'll try and pull it through that hole on the right side.
There's a strike. It's 2-1. Masterson was traded from Boston to Cleveland July 31st of 2009. Bounced foul. That's interesting because it's his current manager that called him in the office in Baltimore and said, Justin, we've just traded you. Terry Francona was the skipper of the Red Sox at that time, and he said it was one of the toughest things he had to do, to tell a young guy that he was going to be traded from his original club.
But they were going for it, and they got a pretty good player in return for him.
Victor Martinez, key to their efforts. And Masterson certainly has found a home in Cleveland. Full count, 1 out. With Masterson throwing so many ground balls, you'd expect Rasmus to be on the move. There he goes. Fly ball popped into shallow right. Drew Stubbs is there. Restoris is out, 2 down.
Good idea by the Blue Jays. Try to open up a hole, get something started there, starting that runner. Unfortunately, they got the ball in the air, and he's not standing at second base.
The third of the 3 switch hitters in the lineup tonight, Emilio Bonifacio. That's 9th. Just 64 games a year ago with the Marlins. He had .258. He had a couple of different stints on the disabled list. Initially, he tore the tendon in his hand, sliding head first in a steal attempt. Had surgery on it. When he came back, he re-injured that same thumb, diving, trying to make a catch in the outfield. And then the final injury of the season, he injured his knee, and that finished his season. Tough year for him.
Yeah, but he is a threat. He is a good player, can hit the ball the other way. He's got a little pop, too.
They were having a lot of fun during batting practice, and Bonifacio hit a few balls out of the ballpark, and everybody was getting on him. Reyes said, no, I saw him hit one right out over the center field fence. I really saw it. Obviously not known for his power. Just one home run last year. But his job is to get on base.
If he can get the ball to the outfield with something on it, the outfield is playing very shallow against him. If he can split the outfield, it's going to be a run for the Blue Jays.
Fights this one off. You're right, Masterson does look like a different pitcher in this inning. 21 pitches in the first inning. Thrown 18 so far in this inning. I mean, appears to be a little more aggressive to the heart of the plate.
Yeah, use the fastball, and that natural sinking action will take it to the corner. In last year's game, if you remember opening day, early in the count, it was fastball, fastball, fastball. And then he put away a lot of those right-handed batters with the slider to pick up those 10 strikeouts you were talking about.
Good battle going on here between Bonifacio and Masterson. Masterson was in line for the win. Chris Perez blew the save in the 9th inning. Blue Jays tied it and would eventually go on to win it in the 16th. And then a little more up in this at bat than he would like. Way off the plate. Fans out in center field enjoying what was formerly Windows Restaurant. They have not yet named this area, but it's going to be a destination for sure. In fact, there's a private function in there, but after that, everybody in the ballpark will have access to that area. And you come and sit in the 5th deck and watch a few innings and then make your way out to that restaurant in the center. You can be part of that crowd.
It's huge, too.
Yeah, it's going to be a real hot spot.
Yeah, a Saturday afternoon or a Sunday afternoon out there. Should be a lot of fun.
2-2, 2 outs. Base hit to right field. Drew Stubbs cuts it off. Rasmus around second, headed for third. Bonifacio slides into second. A 2-out double. His first hit as a Blue Jay.
You mentioned it last inning, the Cleveland Indians basically playing 3 center fielders in their outfield so they can run and they can cover a lot of ground. When this ball is hit by Bonifacio, it looked like extra bases and possibly a run for the Blue Jays as Rasmus reads it, goes to third base. Drew Stubbs does a great job of getting over to his glove side, cutting the ball off and making a throw. But it's too late as Bonifacio hustles his way in for a double.
Back to the top of the order. Reyes takes a breaking ball for a strike. Reyes walked in his first at bat. 2-0 Cleveland. Masterson ahead 0-2. There are going to be scoring opportunities all throughout this lineup.
Just the way that they were put together with the speed at the bottom of the lineup.
Just off the plate. 97 miles an hour from Masterson. Dialed it up a notch. Bouncing ball. Swisher shovels to Masterson. Reyes is retired. The Blue Jays strand 2 more. They've left 4 on base through 2 innings. Cleveland's up 2-0. with us tonight, and he's standing by with a special guest.
Thanks a lot, Buck. I'm with Dave Jamieson. He's the Assistant Vice President of Honda Canada Sales. And Dave, what is Honda's involvement with the Blue Jays on opening night?
Barry, you know, Honda is the official vehicle supplier and partner for the Toronto Blue Jays. And we're also the sponsor of this great event this evening, the Honda Home Opener. At Honda, this hasn't been a new relationship. This relationship has been going on for over 30 years.
Also tonight, a very special night for one lucky fan who's going to go away with a pretty good prize.
Yeah, we've got 3 great prizes, actually. We're starting off with a lawn care kit, which is a trimmer, a lawnmower, and a tiller. Then we're moving to our newest motorcycle in our lineup, the 500 motorcycle. It is just getting to our dealerships now. And in fact, then one great winner is going to get the all-new 2013 CRV, which is built in just up the road in Alliston. Right beside our milestone product, our Honda Civic, which has been the best-selling car for 15 straight years in Canada. So we're very excited about this evening's activities.
All right, listen, thanks a lot, Dave. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Barry.
All right, back to you, Buck.
Thank you, Barry. And it's been a great relationship. Over 30 years, Honda and the Blue Jays have been associated. Honda's involved with the entire week here, the opening week of the 2013 season. Cleveland's in town for 3 games, and on Friday night, the Boston Red Sox will come to town for a 3-game series. 3-2. Up the middle, Reyes knocks it down, gets on it, and uses that strong arm to gun down Asdrubal Cabrera. Reyes has a terrific arm. You don't see it all the time, but when he needs it, he can really rifle it across the diamond.
Yeah, you won't see it on the routine plays right at him. Positioning perfect here. And once the ball pops out of his gloves, now he's going to show off that great arm. Quick release. Gets over there in plenty of time to get Asdrubal Cabrera. Whenever you drop the ball like that, you've got to pick it up with your bare hand.
Got some nice work over at first from Edwin Encarnacion. Of course, those two played on the Dominican Republic team during the World Baseball Classic back in March. The Dominican team went 8-0 and won the championship. Jason Kipnis struck out back in the first inning. Ball and a strike. Bouncing ball, big hopper, Encarnacion. Kipnis is down. Edwin really blossomed last year as a defender over at first base. I think the confidence he had with the bat carried out onto the field. He became a very good first baseman.
Well, he's always been very athletic. The problem he got into when he was over on the other side of the diamond was having to throw it across when he was the third baseman. But I think you're right. With the great year that he had offensively, the Blue Jays showing faith in him by giving him a contract extension, he's turned into a pretty good first baseman.
Nick Swisher takes one downstairs. Swisher's always had a very good eye at the plate. He's always a guy that's up among the leaders in on-base percentage. For his career, he's got a .361 on-base percentage.
That's what drove Billy Beane for the Oakland A's to draft Swisher out of Ohio State University. He's always a guy up in the leaders of pitches seen per at bat also.
Bonifacio from his knees gets up and throws Swisher out. There's that good defense we were telling you about. A couple of good plays on the infield. Reyes throws out Cabrera, and then with 2 outs, Bonifacio goes to his right, pops to his feet, and ends the inning throwing out Swisher. Welcome back to Honda opening night. Cleveland is ahead 2-0. It'll be 2, 3, and 4 in the Blue Jays lineup. Melky Cabrera will start things on. Breaking ball missed outside. Ripped to right. Hot shot past Drew Stubbs. Cabrera is around first. He's headed for second. Melky Cabrera has lined the ball hard in both of his at-bats.
First one right at the shortstop. That ended up being a double play and really took the Blue Jays out of a big inning. This time all over this pitch from Masterson. Down, and you can see how quick he is to the ball. Short swing, creates backspin, and watch it really handcuff Stubbs in right field. Stubbs is an excellent fielder. That time had no chance.
He's lucky that ball didn't go all the way to the wall. Cabrera's at second. Single in an air on the right fielder. Leadoff man's at second. Jose Bautista singled his first time up. Way off the plate.
I think they've made a concentrated effort that they're going to pitch both Bautista and Encarnacion inside tonight. The defense bears that out. Nick Swisher at first base is way off the line for Bautista. And we know where that ball first pitch to Encarnacion went. Right on his thigh.
Bautista with the count in his favor as Encarnacion stands waiting in the on-deck circle. Well, he was looking inside. It was just low. Turn him loose.
Yeah. Couple of home runs in those 6 hits in his career versus Masterson.
3-0. Bautista tossed his bat aside, thinking it was ball 4.
There is pitch tracks. The 4th pitch of the at-bat shows that it was outside the strike zone.
Breaking ball on the corner, 3-2.
If he throws it 3-1, don't you think he throws that breaking ball again, 3-2?
That's what most hitters think. Cabrera with the leadoff single went to second on the year by Stubbs in right. Santana, the catcher, asked for timeout. He wasn't quite sure he and Masterson were on the same page. Danger lurking. There's ball 4. Bautista's been aboard twice already tonight. Blue Jays have stranded 2 each inning. They have 2 more on in the 3rd. We mentioned Masterson last year opened up the season against the Jays. The Indians had a 4-1 lead going to the top of the 9th, and the Blue Jays scored 3. Another pitch inside. You're right on the money.
I think they want to pitch inside to these big right-handed batters. And Masterson has had success against righties. They only hit .232 against him last year, 10th lowest in the American League, and you can see why. Now, Edwin Encarnacion's a very good low ball hitter. If he tries to jam him with that fastball inside, he could put a charge into it.
Bouncing ball, foul. Encarnacion had a 2-run double in that 9th inning a year ago opening day, and he just missed an extra base hit as it pulled foul. Vic Carapaza, the third base umpire, waving it off.
Look at the defense that the Indians are showing. Edwin Encarnacion, the shortstop and third baseman, really pulled over. That's Chisenhall just 2 steps from the line at third base.
That's where Michael Young played in Philadelphia. The Phillies' third baseman took a double away from Encarnacion in his first at bat.
And you're not going to play the defense like that and then pitch them outside. You're going against your strength. So as a hitter, look for it right there.
1-2. Way outside. Big sweeping breaking ball. Lots of happy faces at Rogers Center. Everybody's been waiting a long time for opening night. Got a piece of it, and then got a piece of the catcher as well. Santana took one off the left leg. Now the Blue Jays got some thump in the middle of their order. Miguel Cabrera led the pack in the American League that Triple Crown season. He had 44 home runs. Curtis Granderson of the Yankees, Josh Hamilton, formerly of the Rangers, and Edwin Encarnacion. Edwin was fourth in the American League. Career high in home runs and RBIs and many other offensive categories for Encarnacion. Jeff Nelson, a home plate umpire, called time before Masterson delivered. Masterson has thrown 59 pitches with nobody out here in the third. He's not long for this game.
Yeah. Blue Jays have to start cashing in some of these runs.
Boy, good eye by Encarnacion, laying off that tight breaking ball. Full count, nobody out. Cabrera singled and reached second on the double. Bautista walked, and you can see Bautista saying, "Cool it." We got a lefty bat on deck. The Blue Jays lined into a double play in the first inning. Melky Cabrera hit one to short. Reyes was doubled off at first. Full count, nobody out. Bases are loaded.
That walk rate for Edwin Encarnacion has gone up 3 straight years, and you can see why. He fell behind Masterson right there and then battled him, laid off a couple of very tough sliders that were just off the plate to work that walk.
Mickey Callaway, the new pitching coach, is out to have a chat with his right-hander.
The 2013 Honda CR-V, an IIHS top safety pick. Honda is the official vehicle of the Toronto Blue Jays.
Roof closed at Rogers Center. It is a blustery night outside. Snow flurries most of the day here in Toronto. 3 career Grand Slams for Adam Lind, and we mentioned his terrific opening day record. He is now 10 for 16 on opening day. Goes after the first pitch, and why not after the walk to Encarnacion?
Yeah, 2 straight walks, first to Bautista and then to Encarnacion. You get a message from your pitching coach. Why not? Go right after him. That's what Lind was thinking as he swung at that pitch. Thinking about getting the ball in the air right here.
Blue Jays are having some good at-bats. They're taking some borderline pitches from Masterson. Backhanded by Cabrera. Second for 1, back to first, and on the play, Melky Cabrera comes in to score. Lind hit a shot, and it was a nice play by Asdrubal Cabrera, the Indian shortstop, that started the 6-4-3 double play.
He is an excellent shortstop. Asdrubal Cabrera, soft hands. Watch this one handcuff him from the backside, but he knows it's hit hard. He's got time. He makes a nice throw over to Kipnis to get the double play. Blue Jays looking for the ball in the air. You can't hit it any better than that. and you don't have anything to show for it. 26 double plays he threw last year, Masterson, and that's a big one for him right there.
J.P. Arancibia takes the first pitch strike. Arancibia struck out on a sinking fastball his first time. Up Bautista moves to third on the double play. That's that same pitch he chased for the strikeout in the second.
Masterson has the ability to make the ball go into right-handers and away from right-handers, so I think you have to pick one of them. Either sit on the slider until you get to 2 strikes, or that fastball that runs inside.
Bautista came a long way down from third toward home on the pitch.
He is anticipating a ball in the dirt. He doesn't take anything for granted when he plays this game. He knows Chisenhall has to play deep at third base with 2 outs and 2 strikes.
Off the plate. Jeff Nelson's been very consistent with the strike zone. He's got a conservative strike zone, but it's been consistent early on. 68 pitches thrown by Masterson already. This is the first game of his season.
You're right. Blue Jays are having some good at-bats against them.
This is one area of concern for Terry Francona, is the middle innings. They're strong at the end, but the middle innings really a question mark.
A lot of young players.
3-2. Strike 3 called. Masterson strikes out Arancibia for a second time, but the Blue Jays cut into the Indians' lead. It's a 2-1 ball game after 3. BlackBerry Sneak Peek Stat of the Game, brought to you by your new BlackBerry Z10, built to keep you moving.
Might be the easiest one of the season. The pitch usage for R.A. Dickey, you know you're going to get a knuckleball. Now, within that 86% of the knuckleball, you're going to get 3 different types. You're going to have the slow, a little bit faster, and then the one that he tries to strike you out with. And when you see it about 78, 79 miles an hour with 2 strikes, that's the hard one. Low 70s is the one that he just tries to get over early in the count for strikes. 2 strikes, he'll jump that up about 88% of the time. He'll use that knuckleball.
Charlie Manuel told us in Philadelphia over the weekend, we haven't even seen the good Dickey yet. R.A. Dickey got off to a great start a year ago with the Mets. It led to that National League Cy Young Award. Started out his season 11-1. During that stretch, he had an 8-game win streak. Boy, that's a wicked breaking ball right there. That knuckleball just dove right at the last moment and got him in the strike zone.
You can see the Indians hitters trying to be very patient with them. Well, how do you combat that? Throw it in the strike zone. Put them on the defensive.
Brantley lifts it down the left side. Long run for Cabrera, and he won't get there.
You were talking about that knuckleball dancing, and you just don't have any idea as a catcher where it's going to go. Here it comes. JP, you can see he's letting it come to him, and it hits right off of his thumb, then off of his shin guard. Right at the last minute, that acceleration and the movement that he gets off that pitch.
Aaron Seavey has been charged with 3 pass balls tonight. That's a new club record for a single game. 2 pass balls have been done 11 different times in Blue Jays history. Mickey Brantley continues to wear out the Blue Jays in this ballpark with a single in his first at bat. We mentioned a year ago. Had a terrific series in July. This time he strikes out. Rogers customers can watch every Blue Jays game this season on Sportsnet live on your smartphone. Visit RogersAnyPlaceTV.com/sports to get started. Take the Blue Jays with you. Take Rogers with you anywhere you go. Blue Jays game all season long right here on Sportsnet.
That strikeout of Michael Brantley got his average now under 600 in his career here in this ballpark.
Catcher Carlos Santana flied out to center in his only at bat tonight. Santana, the switch hitting catcher, is now 26 years old. He set an Indians club record for most home runs by a switch hitter, 27. Kind of surprised me. I think about Eddie Murray hitting there, but he was at the end of his career. But Santana holds the record for an Indians switch hitter.
At a prime position also, a catcher with power. He's got a good eye at the plate also. He'll walk, force that pitcher to throw strikes.
Just off the plate, and there's that walk you were talking about. It comes with 1 out.
91 of them last year, what was the 3rd most in the American League. So you combine power and some good on-base percentage.
3rd walk issued by Dickey. Mark Reynolds walked and scored in the 2nd. He'll step in the batter's box with Santana at first. Two 2-1 ball game. We're in the top of the 4th. Ball gets away from Aaron Sebia, and there's that opportunity for the double play as Santana moves to second. It's a wild pitch charged to Dickey.
Coming at very bad times for the Blue Jays. Runners on scoring, a chance for the double play. And this one will probably be called a wild pitch as it hit the dirt first. But it wipes out the chance to turn a double play.
Bounced on the ground. There's your double play ball, but Reyes goes across the diamond, and Reynolds is out 6-3 on the ground out. Well, 3 times tonight the Blue Jays have had a pass ball or wild pitch after a walk. So that just eliminates any possibility of getting a double play to get you out of that inning.
One of those would have gotten him out of the inning. Chisenhall, the batter right here back in the 2nd inning, hit a ground ball to shortstop. That would have been a double play, but it came after a pass ball.
There's a little flare to left field. Santana's going to stop at third base as Chisenhall fights it off. Melky Cabrera was cheating in over toward the line and got to the ball very quickly.
He's got a good arm too. Watch him cheat and attack this ball. It's not hit very hard by Chisenhall, and he's not playing very deep. Brad Mills, the third base coach of the Indians, does the right thing and holds up Santana to keep the inning alive. You can see anytime that outfielder gets to the ball before that base runner hits the bag, he's going to throw him out.
First and third, 2 outs. Drew Stubbs drove in a run back into second with a single to left. Here's where you really got to relax as a catcher. You've had 3 pass balls. Dickey's been charged with a wild pitch, and you got another run just 90 feet away. But as hard as it is, you got to keep your soft hands. There's a strike.
Can you stay in front of the ball as a catcher? As you see it starting to float on the inside part of the plate, just get something on it to try and keep it in front of you.
You don't want to move too much because obviously your eyes are going to go with you. And then you get your eyes moving and the knuckleball's moving, and then you're really in trouble. I've been in this situation before. As I mentioned, I caught Bruce Del Canton back in Kansas City years ago. Line to Reyes, and that'll end the inning. Cleveland leads 2 men on. They lead it 2-1. Bottom third of the Blue Jays order. Colby Erasmus will start things off, followed by Myceris Storis. Emilio Bonifacio doubled his first time up. Green chairs in the TD Comfort Zone are fans that got a free seat upgrade. The TD Comfort Zone, courtesy of TD. Big, comfy chairs, but you're going to notice that they have moved. They've gone upstairs. The high-rent district, as the TD Zone has moved into that second deck. Good perspective for the fans to get an opportunity to enjoy the ball game sitting in those big, comfy green chairs. Welcome to the ball game. And we got a good one going. 2-1. Cleveland leads. Bottom of the fourth. Colby Erasmus. Erasmus doubled in his last spring training at bat in Philadelphia on Saturday. Just missed hitting a home run. That might be a sign of things to come. He walked in his only at bat tonight.
It's been a tough spring for Colby. He's been working on different things at the plate. You can see from last year he's changed his stance just a little bit. His hands are not as high. Still right on top of the plate. But you're right, those one swings or that feeling in the plate that you can get at the end of spring training can carry right on to the regular season and kickstart you to have a good year.
What kind of adjustments do hitters have to make to a first-year hitting coach? Chad Mottola.
Well, luckily for the Blue Jays last year, Mottola came up in September and got a chance to work with a lot of these guys. So there was always that working agreement between them. Kept in contact with them over the winter time and spent a lot of time in that cage this spring with all the hitters.
Mottola really enjoyed his time this spring with the hitters, got to know the new guys, and the one thing he felt confident with working with these new hitters is the fact that they're all veterans. They all have their programs figured out. He said, I learned an awful lot about these new guys, and they all have the routine they like to go through. Reyes, Bonifacio. He said the one I was most impressed with all spring long was Melky Cabrera. Has a terrific routine that he's dedicated to day in and day out.
And as a hitting coach, you have to know something about hitting, obviously. But you have to know your hitters. You have to know the strengths and the weaknesses and the little sayings that might get the light turned on in their head.
As Torres takes strike 2.
Some guys like to take a lot of flips from the coach. Some guys like to hit off of a pitching machine. You got to spend the time.
Line to right, Stubbs gets there, measures it, second down. Fans Junior Jays Saturday, they're presented by Boston Pizza. Saturday, April 6th, Blue Jays will take on the Boston Red Sox. The game starts at 1:07 p.m. Special kids prize tickets in the 200 and 500 level outfield seats. After the game, kids 14 and under can run the bases just like the pros. For tickets, call the Blue Jays at 416-341-1234. Log on to BlueJays.com, or you can always stop by most Rogers Plus locations and pick up your tickets for Junior Jays Saturday. First of the season, and the Boston Red Sox will be in town. This is popped up. Michael Bourne, the center fielder, calls for it, and the Blue Jays go down in order in the 4th. It's a 2-1 ball game. Now it's time for a Blue Jays Central update. Here's Jamie Campbell and Greg Zahn in the BlackBerry broadcast studio. The opening night here at Rogers Center, and it's a packed house, a lot of big smiles as they're glad to see the season begin. And the Blue Jays have revamped their rotation. 3 new starters in the organization. R.A. Dickey came from the Mets. He won the Cy Young in New York a year ago. Josh Johnson's a 2-time All-Star and formerly an ERA champ with the Marlins. And Mark Burley, we all know about him. He spent 11 seasons with the Chicago White Sox. He received his 4th consecutive Gold Glove tonight before the start of this ball game, and they certainly bring experience. They bring a presence. They have leadership, and for the first time, probably since Roy Halladay left, they have an ace.
Yeah, and they're bringing some hardware also to the ballpark. Dickey with his Cy Young, and Burley with all of his Gold All-Star appearances for Josh Johnson. That's something the Blue Jays had to do this offseason. With the injuries last season to Kyle Drabek and to Drew Hutchison, Ricky Romero ineffective in the spring. They needed to do something to get some innings out of their starters.
Their starters were 10th in the American League in ERA with a 4.82 ERA. They had allowed the 4th most runs in the American League as a pitching staff, 784. The one holdover in the 5-man rotation is Brandon Martin. Michael Bourne, it's his first hit in 3 at-bats tonight. That's the 10th hit Bourne has had against R.A. Dickey. He's hit him well in his career.
And he has hit the Blue Jays well in this ballpark. You mentioned it earlier. Right around 500 now in 10 games.
Michael Bourne at first, 42 steals a year ago. And Dickey is quick to check in on him.
I think this is going to be interesting right here. Cleveland up by 1 run. Terry Francona's team's got a lot of speed in their lineup, and he says he's going to use it.
Now, the best way to diffuse a running game, as Brad Mills, the third base coach, is trying to find Francona in the dugout to get the sign from the manager. First strike one. You eliminate the number of pitches a runner can run on. Dickey is pretty good at neutralizing the running game. He's allowed just 20 stolen bases in his last 94 games.
Just 4 all of last season.
High fly ball to right. Bautista looking up at the wall. This ball is gone. Asdrubal Cabrera, his first home run of the season, his first hit of the night. And the Indians have extended their lead. It is now 4-1 Cleveland.
You know, when you square up a knuckleball, ball tends to go a long way. I don't think Asdrubal Cabrera thought he got this one. He thought it might have been just a fly ball to right field. And you could see him throw the bat down and say something. And Dickey can't believe that ball went out of the ballpark. It just kept climbing and kept going.
Yeah, I think you're right. It looked like it hit off the end of the bat. I think both Cabrera and Dickey were both surprised that the ball went out of the yard. But it's a 2-run home run for Cabrera. Asdrubal hit 16 a year ago for Cleveland. Strike 3 call. Jason Kipnis down on strikes. Dr. Hannibal Lecter is back in a new psychological thriller starting April 4th on City. Let the mind games begin. Cleveland up 4-1 against R.A. Dickey. Asdrubal Cabrera's 2-run home run here in the top of the 5th extends their lead. Nick Swisher has grounded out twice. Swisher doesn't agree with Jeff Nelson, the home plate umpire. You know, that's one thing that gets overlooked, Pat. We know it's hard to hit, and we know it's very difficult to catch, but also it's tough on the umpires as well.
Got to really stay with it. That ball's going to dance all over the place on you. You got to really lock in on that baseball.
Looks like he threw him a fastball and crossed up Nick Swisher. Back-to-back strikeouts here in the 5th.
Told you 94% of the time the lefties will try and put him away with a knuckleball, but you're right, that's a fastball. He turns it over, sinks it just a little bit, hit 83 miles an hour, but was in a good spot.
Michael Brantley, 1 for 2 with a run scored. R.A. Dickey has allowed just 5 hits. That's a pretty good knuckleball right at the top of the zone. All the way back to the screen as that one got away from Dickey.
Looked like he tried to do the same thing to Michael Brantley as he did to Nick Swisher, the previous batter. Try and surprise him with a fastball. That one off the glove of Aaron Sevilla.
2 balls, 2 strikes, 2 outs. Cleveland up 4-1, top of the 5th inning. R.A. Dickey in his first opening day start. Coming off a 20-6 Cy Young season with the New York Mets.
Indians have done a good job of really waiting out Dickey and being very patient with him. We have run his pitch count up there at 91 now here in the 5th inning.
Dickey thought it was strike 3. Took a step toward the Blue Jays dugout. That's 4 walks issued now by Dickey. Comes with 2 outs.
Inside knuckleball called low by home plate umpire Jeff Nelson, and that's going to bring Pete Walker out to give his starter. I think this is a good move right here. Dickey couldn't believe the Cabrera home run went out and then thought he had strike 3.
Yeah, just to help him regroup a little bit. It's a situation where Walker knows it's been a bit of a tough inning for him. Surprised by the home run, and then thought he had thrown strike 3 to Brantley, so he gives him a little breather by going to the mound. Indians have left 4 on base so far. Santana goes after the first pitch. Bradashone flips to Dickey. Easy play on the grounder. Asdrubal Cabrera hit a 2-run home run. Cleveland leads it 4-1. Back here at Rogers Center, Blue Jays are down by 3. It'll be the top of the order. Jose Reyes, the shortstop, will lead things off. Reyes has gone 0 for 1 with a walk, goes after the first pitch, and hits it a mile high, shallow right field. Drew Stubbs calls off Jason Kipnis. The right fielder came over and took charge. 1 down. That's 6 straight retired by Masterson.
Yeah, the double play turned by the middle infield by Cabrera really got him off the hook. It really got him to the next level as a pitcher. Blue Jays had a single, an error, 2 walks. Adam Lind hit a bullet right at Asdrubal Cabrera. He turned it over for a double play, and he's been on cruise control ever since.
Melky Cabrera scored on that double play ball. Blue Jays only run.
The question is now, Buck, how much longer can he go? How long will Terry Francona stay with him? You mentioned the pitch count.
Another pop-up. This is going to help his pitch count. 2 outs on a couple of pop-ups to right. Blue Jays Honda Super Camps are presented by Baseball Canada and Little League Canada. London, Ontario, April 19th, 20th, and 21st at Centerfield Sports with instructors Jesse Barfield, Sandy Alomar Sr., Devon White, Adam Stern, and Dwayne Ward. Visit BlueJays.com/Baseball Academy for more information. The Toronto Blue Jays are proud supporters of amateur baseball across Canada. 2 quick outs here in the bottom of the 5th. Jose Bautista has been on board twice. Takes a first pitch breaking ball for a strike. Masterson a year ago went 8 innings, allowed the Blue Jays just 2 hits on 99 pitches. That was his opening day start last year. He left that ball game with a comfortable 4-1 lead.
Same as tonight, 4-1. In that game, it took him 99 pitches to throw those 8 innings.
He had 1 walk and struck out 10. And as we mentioned, Blue Jays mastered just 2 hits against Masterson. 3-1 to Bautista on the corner. Another good pitch, and Bautista spoils it. Indians bullpen is quiet. Nobody is stirring down in that bullpen. Same for the Blue Jays. Strike 3 call. Bautista called out on a breaking ball. So Masterson has back-to-back 3 up, 3 down innings. We're headed to the 6th. Headed to the bottom of the 5th, and here come the Home Hardware Cleanup Crew, brought to you by Natura. Home Hardware's exclusive line of safe, environmental-friendly cleaning products. For the Cleveland Indians wrap up their series on Wednesday and Thursday night. Boston will be in town, a 3-game set that starts on Friday night right here at Rogers Center. For tickets, call the Blue Jays at 416-341-1234. Log on to BlueJays.com or stop by most Rogers Plus locations and pick up your Blue Jay tickets. The first homestand of the season. Boston beat the Yankees 8-2 in their season opener Monday afternoon in New York. New York doesn't look real strong right now, do they?
They look like the Blue Jays old team from about 5 or 6 years ago.
Vernon Wells was in left. Overbay is on that team. Ben Francisco was the DH.
Another XJ. He was here last year. Jason Nix played third base for the Yankees.
Clark Reynolds has walked in, grounded out. Dickey has thrown 96 pitches. 97 is popped in the air. Encarnacion in foul ground. One down.
The 2013 Honda CRV, an IIHS top safety pick. Honda is the official vehicle of the Toronto Blue Jays.
Bonnie Chisenhall had a single to left field last time up. It was interesting. Santana was at second base with 2 outs, and Chisenhall lined it to left, but Brad Mills, the third base coach for Cleveland, stopped Santana at third. Melky Cabrera saved a run.
That was the right decision also. Got on to that one. Melky did very quickly, and he's got a great throwing arm. Aaron Loop starting to warm up now. What a great spring he had. John Gibbons anticipating getting down into this lineup. If Dickey loses some of them, maybe turn some of those switch hitters around.
Another good play by Dickey. 2 quick outs here in the 6th. Fans are everywhere at Rogers Center, inside the hotel out in center field. Hopeful of a Blue Jays comeback. 48,857 on hand. Drew Stubbs. He's now 6 for 12 on opening day. Stubbs came from the Cincinnati Reds. Pops it up. Foul territory. Encarnacion gets there, and the inning is over. Quick inning for R.A. Dickey. Now he needs some runs from his offense. Looks like he has given him the attaboy for a good outing, as Pete Walker, the pitching coach, follows and congratulates Dickey for his first start of the season. Dickey goes 6 innings, 5 hits, 4 runs, 3 earned runs. And he threw a wild pitch. J.P. Arencibia was charged with 3 pass balls over the course of those 6 innings.
And if there's one pitch he probably wants to have back, it's the ball that was hit to right field. He just couldn't believe that that ball went out by Asdrubal Cabrera.
Now the Blue Jay hitters have to get something going, but you know that Justin Masterson is close to the end of his night. Asdrubal Cabrera with his first home run, a 2-run shot to right.
Yeah, he's getting close. He's coming up on 100 pitches. You don't want to burn out your number one in the first game of the season by pushing him too far, too fast.
Mentioned he threw 99 pitches in his first start of the year last season over the course of 8 innings. But it was a much easier effort for Masterson as he walked 1 and struck out 10. He was in command.
Quick at bats. A lot of fastballs early in the count. He was keeping it out of the middle of the plate.
Ground ball right side. Kipnis dives, popped to his feet just in time. And Encarnacion made it close to first. Jason Kipnis dove, gloved it, and got to his feet quickly and went on to Swisher for the out.
You know, we've showed you how they shift. Look at where Swisher is, how far he has to go to first base to get it. Right here, I thought Encarnacion had a shot because it looked like there was just a little bit of a problem getting the ball out of the glove. But Justin Masterson likes it. Kipnis with a nice play to lead off the 6th.
Maybe the biggest at bat of the game for Masterson came back in the 3rd. Adam Lynn hit a hot shot 1-hopper with the bases loaded, and they turned to double play.
Yeah, bases loaded, nobody out, and he hasn't given up a base runner yet.
Good play by Swisher, going to the backhand and shovels to Masterson. Lynn's retired. He's 0 for 3.
That's the last time back in the 3rd inning that the Blue Jays had a base runner. A walk to Encarnacion, had him on the ropes, but he's found his way off. Good play by Swisher to backhand that ball on the line and then flip to a starter right there to record the out.
Swisher was destined to be the right fielder for this ball club, and then Michael Bourne signed as a free agent late in the offseason, and Swisher was pushed to first base. Made 27 starts a year ago at first base for the Yankees. But he looks to be active, and it's a good spot for him. And Sebia pulls it foul. The newest young Blue Jay fan is all decked out in a beautiful pink Blue Jays jersey, and she's having a good time. Breaking ball strike. It's 1-2. They mentioned the crowd here at Rogers Center on Honda opening night. 48,857. And there they are. And Sebia pops it into center. 14 straight retired by Justin Masterson. He sets down the Blue Jays in order. Through 6, Cleveland up 4-1. Aaron Loop into the game. Lots of excitement on opening night. A lot of fans on hand. Big crowd turned out here at Rogers Center. R.A. Dickey making his first opening day start goes 6 innings, scatters 5 hits over those 6 innings. 4 runs, 3 earned runs. He walked 4, struck out 4, and threw 1 wild pitch. 104 pitches, and now Dickey is hopeful that the offense can bounce back, get back in this ball game. They only trail by 3.
So they will turn it over to the bullpen, and the first guy this season out of the bullpen will be Aaron Luke. 33 games last year. What a pleasant surprise he was. 0-2 record with a .264 earned run average, but he opened up the eyes because he threw strikes. Doesn't seem to get excited about anything. He can throw a breaking ball over at any time, and the count for a strike. Had a great spring.
Made his major league debut against Cleveland last July. Worked 2 innings and set down 6 in a row.
Yeah, he's not a left-on-left-handed batter, one-batter guy. He's a multiple inning guy. Throw strikes, just carve up those corners with that fastball.
Michael Bourne singled and scored ahead of the home run by Asdrubal Cabrera. There's that wicked breaking ball from a tough angle. Well, you talk about a guy stepping across his body and firing tough pitches down and away. He is tough on lefties.
Yeah, that crossfire, that shot right there will show you what Michael Bourne's looking at.
That's the old emergency hack just to stay alive. That ball broke late, and he did a good job of spoiling it.
A lot of times he will put breaking ball in the mind of a left-hander, like you saw right there, Michael Bourne, and then cross him up and then throw a fastball. Gets a lot of fastball strikes.
Bouncing ball past Historis in the left. Bourne a 2-hit game.
Well, he indeed went to the fastball.
Historis is charged with an error on this ball, and that's a tough error. That ball had topspin and bounced right over his glove. So Historis charged with the error. Each team has committed an error tonight. Asdrubal Cabrera will bat right-handed for the first time. First pitch strike. This is what I like about Luke. First batter reaches base, comes back and pounds that zone with a strike.
Nothing seems to affect him. He just goes out there and just does his thing. Just execute the next pitch. It's the only thing you have control over.
Luke held lefties to a .207 average a year ago. Right-handers hit .259. Bourne, of course, always a threat to run. One of the best base stealers in the game. 257 stolen bases over the course of the last 4 seasons. That's the most in the big leagues. Ground ball. Reyes quickly to Bonifacio, and they have no chance to double up Cabrera. 1 out. Big day tomorrow in the NHL, the Hockey Central trade deadline presented by Coors Light. Sportsnet will have full-day coverage tomorrow, tracking every team on TV, radio, online, and mobile. Stay in the know on every trade, anyway, anywhere, anytime, right here on Sportsnet. Jason Kipnis 0 for 3. There's a move to first base. Cabrera was off on first move, and he is out at second. Good job by Luke. Asdrubal Cabrera, just 9 for 12 in steals a year ago, went on the first move of Aaron Loop, and he is caught stealing.
Trying to lull him to sleep. You see him just get off, and he's going to go on first move. Loop picks up on that. And Encarnacion does a good job of clearing space to open up a lane to throw to Reyes to get the out at second base. Keep that speed off of the bases with the middle of the order coming up. Blue Jays cannot afford to give up any more runs.
Just outside the line at third. Kipnis got jammed on that inside fastball and fought it off. Terry Francona's first game for the Cleveland Indians. John Gibbons, his first game back with the Blue Jays. Gibbons was rehired by Alex Anthopoulos in November of last year. He was let go by the Blue Jays in June of 2008. Bouncing ball off the dirt, and Encarnacion shovels to Luke. Another good inning for Aaron Luke. Blue Jays need some offense. Bottom third of the order, Colby Erasmus, the center fielder. Meiser Estouris, the third baseman. And the number 9 hitter, Emilio Bonifacio, when we come back.
On Sportsnet. Brought to you by the 2013 Honda CR-V and IIHS Top Safety Pick. Honda is the official vehicle of the Toronto Blue Jays.
Bullpens will finish this one off as Aaron Luke is into the game for the Blue Jays, and now Joe Smith, the right-hander, one of 3 very effective pitchers in the Indians bullpen a year ago. Smith last season 7-4 with a very good ERA at 2.96. Colby Erasmus trying to get aboard with the bunt. Bunts it foul. Not a bad idea.
Yeah, the Blue Jays need some base runners. You got to get on any way you can. Smith is tough. He comes from underneath. Tough to get the ball in the air against them. You mentioned those 72 games last year that Joe Smith worked in. That led the team. Led the Indians, and it's set up nicely. You mentioned the 3 relievers. Smith has been their 7th inning guy, Vinny Pastano the 8th inning guy, and Chris Perez their 9th inning. So the Blue Jays have to get something started. We
mentioned overall the bullpen was 13th in ERA, but those 3 you mentioned, Pastano, Smith, and Perez, combined for a 1.13 whip and a 3.03 ERA. Back end of the bullpen is good. Asmus asks for time. Generally, when you see a sidearmer like Joe Smith, you think, okay, well, he's going to be tough on righties and not so tough on lefties. That's not the case at all. There's that breaking ball that he neutralizes left-handers with. They hit just .218 against him last year.
Right-handers weren't much better, just .208 last year. When you see him come from down under, it's basically sinker slider. That time he throws that slider that catches the outside corner for the strikeout. He can move that ball to the inside, to the outside. Sinks it to the left-handers or catches that outside corner.
Meiseris Torres has had just one at-bat against Smith. He's 0 for 1. Torres, a switch hitter, batting left for the first time tonight. Pops this one in the air. Michael Brantley, the left fielder, moves underneath it. 2 quick outs for Smith here in the bottom of the 7th. Enthusiastic opening night crowd at Rogers Center. On the opening night, a crowd of 48,857 on hand. Remember last year, opening day, Blue Jays trailed 4-1 going into the top of the 9th in Cleveland. Number 9 hitter, Bonifacio. One hopper right to the second baseman, Joe Smith. Comes in and retires the Blue Jays in order on just 8 pitches. We'll go to the 8th. Opening night, Cleveland leads it 4-1. Fans at Rogers Center were given a chance to win a brand new 2013 Honda CRV. Danielle is the lucky winner. She comes away with a brand new car from Honda on Honda opening night. What a way to spend the night at the old ballpark and drive home in your brand new car. Congratulations, Danielle, and thank you, Honda. Aaron Loop in his second inning of relief. Nick Swisher 0 for 3 tonight against R.A. Dickey. A couple of ground outs and a strikeout. Way inside. Luke came in the ball game, started the 7th, and allowed Michael Bourne to reach on an air and caught Asdrubal Cabrera trying to steal. Had a 1-2-3 inning.
Yeah, and only did it in 13 pitches, so he can go back out there.
Swisher hits it on the ground right to the shortstop. 1 down. This copyrighted telecast is presented by authority of Rogers Blue Jays Baseball Partnership. It may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form. Any accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of Rogers Blue Jays Baseball Partnership. Getting late for the Blue Jays. One out here in the top of the 8th. They trail by 3. Just off the outside edge. Michael Brantley is the son of former Blue Jays coach Mickey Brantley. Mickey is in town, watch his son play opening night. Indians are going to do something interesting when they open up their home portion of the schedule, their home opener. They're going to have the father and son combinations on their team throw out the first pitch.
And there's a few of them on this team now.
Terry Francona's father, Tito Francona, played a long time in the major leagues, 15 seasons, and played with the Indians. He's going to throw out the first pitch to Terry. And then Mickey Brantley will throw out the pitch to Michael Brantley. Steve McAllister will throw out the pitch to Zach McAllister. And Sandy Alomar Sr. will throw out the first pitch to Sandy Alomar Jr. That's a pretty nice touch.
That's pretty cool. To have that many father-son combinations, first of all, on the team, and then to get them all involved on opening day. That'll be pretty neat to see.
Grammer takes a walk. Second consecutive walk for Michael Brantley. And John Gibbons is making his way out of the Blue Jays dugout. He's made the signal to the bullpen. So the Blue Jay fans are going to get another look at a member of the Blue Jays pen. Aaron Loup comes into the ball game, works an inning and a third, and will leave here in the top of the 8th with 1 out. Sergio Santos into the ball game for the first time this year. Drive of the game brought to you by the 2013 Honda CR-V and IIHS Top Safety Pick. Honda is the official vehicle of the Toronto Blue Jays.
5th inning after a leadoff single. Asdrubal Cabrera hits a fly ball to right field that looks like a fly ball but keeps carrying. He hit 16 of them last year. This is his first one of 2013. R.A. Dickey can't believe it as Cabrera rounds the bases with his first home run of the season.
Sergio Santos, 2011 with the White Sox, 63 games. Last year, of course, he started with the Blue Jays and had shoulder problems. Eventually would undergo surgery, and he's making his way back. Coming off that surgery, he is in great shape. Boy, he worked hard in the offseason. He trimmed down and got his body in great shape. 1 out. Carlos Santana, the switch-hitting catcher. Rips the first pitch down the right field line. That's a fair ball. Bautista will have to play it off the wall. Brantley is being stopped at third base as Bautista played it perfectly and gets it back into the infield. Santana not wasting any time, jumping on the first offering from Sergio Santos.
Yeah, you don't want to get yourself into a strikeout, two-strike situation against Santos. He's got too many weapons to get you. First pitch up, and he rips it into the corner. Tough to stay up on top of that ball, but he does. Rips it into the corner. And now the infield has to come in with runners at second and third.
Well, Santos is a strikeout pitcher, and here's where you need a strikeout, and you got the perfect batter at the plate in Mark Reynolds. Reynolds just 0 for 1 against Santos for his career. 1 out. There's a strike with the first pitch.
You know what you want to do with Mark Reynolds is he'll chase that high fastball, that letter high fastball. If you can get him thinking about that, and then you do that, you can also drop a breaking ball in there with 2 strikes out of the strike zone.
There's that good slide, a little bit up, but Reynolds fouled it back.
Santos' slider has been better the last couple of times out at spring training. Started and stopped this spring. Was thrown very hard, and then a windy, cold day in Clearwater. He threw an inning and felt a little soreness and had to back off just a little bit in spring training. Just now starting to get strong again.
He's ahead 0-2. There's that strikeout, exactly what you need. Runner at third, less than 2 outs, and Santos delivers.
That slider was pretty good. Told you it's been better the last week or so of spring training. Watch the depth and the movement on this one. Spins it. It looks like a strike. You start to swing, and look where it ends up. Just off the dirt. Pretty good pitch right there from Santos.
2 big runs on base. Brantley at third, Santana at second. First pitch strike. 96. We've not seen that velocity out of Santos throughout spring training.
Yeah, he was trying to generate that type of speed and that power. Opening night, you know you're fired up.
Another good fastball, 95. Santos trying to keep it a 3-run deficit, and that's huge because in the bottom of the 8th, top of the order, Reyes, Cabrera, and Bautista. They can erase a 3-run deficit in a heartbeat. 0-2. 2 outs. Job by Santos. Gives up a double on his first pitch and comes back and strikes out 2. Now it's time for Blue Jays Central Update. Here's Jamie Campbell and Greg Zahn in the Blackberry Broadcast Studio. Opening night, Blue Jays got some work to do. They trail by 3. New pitcher for Cleveland will be the right-hander, Vinny Pestano.
What a year for Pestano last season. You see, he got into 70 games, had a 3-3 record with a very good 257 earned run average, but it's the holds. Pitching in front of Chris Perez, he had 36 holds last year, which was the second most in the American League. He does it with a good cutting fastball to register those 9 strikeouts per 9 innings. He can cut his fastball. He throws hard. He's got a nice slider that can finish off batters. He's a tough customer.
The Blue Jays have the right guys up. It'll be Reyes, Melky Cabrera, and Jose Bautista. Melky Cabrera on deck is 1 for 3, but he's hit the ball hard twice tonight. Bautista had a single in his first at bat. He's also walked and struck out. Blue Jays down by 3. Reyes is 0 for 2.
What you're looking for here is you're starting to face setup men and relievers. Just get the tying run to the plate. Give your team a chance. And you're right, you got the best 2 guys to lead off the 8th inning, and Reyes and Cabrera.
Backdoor breaking ball. 0-2. Trying to hit that back door again, and Reyes talking to himself about staying back. Don't be jumpy. 2-2.
Playing over in the National League, he hasn't seen too much of these Indian Indian pitchers.
Reyes down the right side. Long run for Stubbs. He gets there and makes the grab. Got to show the umpire the ball. Kerwin Danley, first base umpire, holds up the right hand. We mentioned 3 center fielders in the outfield for Cleveland. That's a real defensive strength.
And this is it right here. Stubbs is an excellent outfielder. Watch him check the wall real quick. Right before he goes into his dive, he checks one more time to see how close he is to that wall. And that is the best way to go ahead and catch that ball, in the sliding motion where your legs take the brunt of that force against the wall. But Brantley and Bourne and Stubbs can go get it in the outfield.
Each one of those outfielders started for their teams last year. There are 414 starts in center field in their outfield. Melky Cabrera. Cabrera lined into a double play in the first, singled and scored in the third, and popped up in the 5th. Ground ball. Swisher will go to the bag. 2 quick outs. Prior to tonight's game, PlayStation provided us with a simulation of who they thought the Blue Jays player of the game would be. The video game version picked Jose Bautista to have a big game, 3 for 5 with a homer. Tonight so far, Bautista's 1 for 2, but he's got a chance to collect on that homer.
Yeah, time to get it right here. He singled his first time up, walked, and then struck out on a 3-2 slider from Justin Masterson. He's had some good at-bats tonight. Tough right-handers. Masterson is tough on the righties. And Pestano, 168 the righties hit off of him. So he's tough too.
Bautista's only had 1 at bat against Pestano. He has a hit. Boy, a little bit of a late moving fastball down and away.
It's a natural cutting action that he has on his pitches. 93 miles an hour.
See the infield playing him to pull. So slider. Look how far Swisher is off the first base bag. He got a long run.
Made it look easy that time against Edwin Encarnacion. He'll play Encarnacion there also. Now takes a couple of steps to his left with 2 strikes on Jose.
I think Bautista recognizes this year he's got a lot of help in the lineup. He doesn't have to try to deliver that big hit all the time. He's always been patient at the plate, but now he knows he's got a lot of support. Checked his swing upstairs. Boy, that's the one that everybody's keeping their eye on him with Bautista.
The check swing.
Wrist.
Yeah.
That check swing that you always wonder, is that wrist going to hold up? And he's had no indication of any concern whatsoever.
Yep, says he is totally fine, and you can see he holds up on that high fastball from Pistano.
Full count, 2 outs. Because after that high fastball, Bautista strikes out for a second time tonight. The bullpen, 6 up, 6 down. We'll go to the 9th. Brett Cecil into the ball game. Blue Jays down by 3. Park 3D in theaters Friday for a limited time only.
Might be the play of the game right now if the score stays the same right here. Bases loaded, nobody out. Adam Lind at the plate, and he smokes the ball to the right of Asdrubal Cabrera. And how about that nifty play by the shortstop? Backhand stays right with it. Perfect feed for Gitness, and they turn over the double play. That helped Justin Masterson. That ball gets to the outfield. Blue Jays are going to be scoring a few more runs. That's the last time they had a base runner right there. That play really helped out Justin Masterson.
Asdrubal Cabrera back-to-back All-Star appearances at shortstop. It's the first Cleveland shortstop since Omar Vizquel made back-to-back All-Star appearances. Vizquel's last in '99. New pitcher for the Jays is the left-hander Brett Cecil. It'll be 9-1-2 for Cleveland in the 9th. Drew Stubbs 1 for 3. RBI single to left, back in the second. He loses his bat. This one bounces off the padding and ends up in the camera bay. Second time we've seen a bat sail into the seats.
That time it was slowed down. Watch this. See ya. You can't find it, but it hits that padding. It really slowed it down.
Drew Stubbs, we mentioned he came over to the Indians from Cincinnati. 3-team trade involving Cleveland, Arizona, and the Reds. Shin-Soo Choo, the right fielder, ends up in Cincinnati. Cleveland gets Stubbs and Taylor Bauer, Brian Shaw from Arizona.
Trevor Bauer did not make this team. He's down to AAA, but he's got a bright future and a very good arm.
Drew Stubbs, a former first-round pick of the Cincinnati Reds, 2006.
A lot of power. The knock on Drew Stubbs was he struck out too much in Cincinnati, but he's got a lot of power.
Brett Cecil made the ball club out of spring training. Cecil and Jeremy Jeffers basically were in a dogfight for the final position in that bullpen, and Brett Lawrie was placed on a disabled list, and both Jeffers and Cecil made the ball club. Blue Jays currently carrying 8 relievers. There's Jeremy Jeffers, his first year with the Blue Jays. Stubbs goes too far. There's the strikeout you were talking about. And get ready for the 2013 baseball season with MLB.TV. Watch every out-of-market regular season game live or on demand in HD quality. Watch up to 4 games at once with multi-game viewing. Season subscriptions start at $109.99. Visit BlueJays.com for more details. Michael Bourne bounces it to second. Easy play for Bonifacio. 2 quick outs. I think everybody in this bullpen understands the situation. When Brett Lawrie gets healthy, somebody's got to go. So that's a healthy competition. It's ongoing.
Never know with baseball. It changes from day to day. Someone can get hurt and you can stick around, but most teams will carry 5 starters and 7 relievers. Blue Jays, with the injury to Brett Lawrie, it really opened up a spot. There are the 8 relievers that they're going to carry, 5 righties and 3 lefties. Always pitching for a chance to stay in the big leagues.
Asdrubal Cabrera reached on a fielder's choice in the 7th. He homered against R.A. Dickey in the 5th, a 2-run shot to right. (4-1) Cleveland. See, he's got a little more velocity on his fastball than we saw last year, and he worked at it. He went to the Steve Delabar School of Arm Strength and built up his velocity a bit. It's a high fly ball to center. Rasmus drifting back in front of the warning track. Good inning for Brett Cecil. Now the Blue Jays will go to the bottom of the 9th. They trail Cleveland by 3. Just 3 hits. Edwin Encarnacion will start it off, followed by Adam Lind, the DH, and J.P. Arancibia. Time to get the bats going. Last chance for the Toronto Blue Jays as they trail Cleveland by 3-4-1. Bottom of the 9th inning. New pitcher for Cleveland is their closer, Chris Perez.
39 saves last year, 39 for 43. 0-4 though. One of those losses versus the Blue Jays. Fastball, sinker, good curveball. he will attack the strike zone. It comes right after you. Doesn't like walking anybody.
How about the baseball god? Just exactly the same situation Perez entered the game last year. He was home, of course, but it was the 9th inning. The Blue Jays were down by 3, 4-1. They scored 3 to push it into extra innings, and Edwin Encarnacion got the game-tying 2-run double.
Right off the top of the wall. In left field. I thought he had a home run. That inning started with a single to a couple of singles and a sacrifice fly, a walk, and then that double.
Right on the corner, it's a full count. Yunel Escobar started that inning with a single. Kelly Johnson in the single. Escobar went to third. Bautista hit a sac fly. Lind walked on a full count, and then Encarnacion tied it up. Goes after that fastball down and away and skies it to right. Stubbs is there. 1 down. Now for a preview of what's coming up on Connected. Here's Ken Reed and Ivanka Osmak. Rally caps are out at Rogers Center as they're trying to help the team get back into this ball game. Adam Lind is 0 for 3. Blue Jays have just 3 hits. Bautista singled in the first. Bonifacio doubled in the second. And Melky Cabrera led off the third. Blue Jays have been set down. 18 straight batters have been retired by Cleveland pitching. The last base runner to reach was Encarnacion back in the third.
Yeah, that was that play of the game that we had, that line drive double play that off the bat of Adam Lind.
Slider off the plate inside. No appeal to the third base umpire. Chris Perez had 107 career saves, but he has 99 career saves with the Indians.
4th most in the Indians' history. Jose Mesa, if you remember him, if you're a baseball guy, he is 3rd with 104 saves. 39 of them last year for Chris Perez.
Then fouls it back. Perez, a 2-time All-Star. He came over to the Indians from St. Louis. For current Blue Jay, Mark DeRosa. Full count, 1 out. Popped up. Shallow left field. Michael Brantley over near the line. Blue Jays are down to their final out. 19 straight Blue Jays have been retired by the Indians pitchers. Bullpen has been terrific. We mentioned the trio of Joe Smith, Vinny Pestano, and Chris Perez. Real strength of this Indians bullpen.
You know, after that double play off the bat of Adam Lind, it seemed to give Justin Masterson a second win. He came out, he struck out Aaron Sevilla to finish the inning, and that started it, boy, for him. And the key, I think, for the Indians tonight was Masterson getting to 6 innings. It didn't look like he was going to be able to do that through 3 innings. He had thrown a ton of pitches, and he found it. Mowed him down, gave him 6 innings, and that let Terry Francona line up his bullpen for the last 3 innings.
Aaron Sebia drives it toward the gap. That's going to get down and go all the way to the ball. Aaron Sebia is headed for second, and he'll stop there with a stand-up double. JP is 1 for 4. That's just the 4th Blue Jay hit of the night.
Second extra base hit by the Blue Jays. Bonifacio had a double. This time JP Arencibia stays right on that ball and is able to drive it into the gap. Not a lot of extra movement in a swing right there. You got to stay on it.
Kobe Rasmus takes one down the middle. Rasmus walked, and he's also struck out twice. Trying to come inside, missed all the way across the plate, but caught the corner.
Yeah, it still worked out for Chris Perez. They wanted that ball down and in.
So far tonight, Blue Jays have had plenty of opportunities, but they are 0 for 4 with runners in scoring position. As we mentioned, they haven't had a base runner until they're in Sebia's 2-out double, going all the way back to the 3rd. That'll do it. Rasmus strikes out for a 3rd time. That is the 100th career save as an Indian for Chris Perez. Big blow of the night was Asdrubal Cabrera's 2-run home run in the 5th. That gave the Indians a 4-1 lead, and that would do it.
Yeah, it gave him some breathing room, and that makes a difference when those pitchers can get out there and mow you down like they did.
So the Blue Jays lose the opener. We'll be back here tomorrow night as Brandon Morrow goes to the mound. Stay tuned for Connected, or go over to 1. You can check out the Giants and Dodgers. That's it from Rogers Center. We'll see you tomorrow night. Thanks for watching.